go through all of the suggestions, and there will be opportunity sessions where you can present them, discuss them more, and if they make sense, they will be added to the live PR roadmap. And finally, on the accountability front, we're closing in on the end of the month. Next week, I'm going to gather all of the monthly updates and post them as a canonical document on the roadmap changelog. So please make sure to post all of your monthly updates to the original forum post that you posted your proposal. Yep, that's basically all the updates from my side. So I think we can just dive right into the uh, team updates. Define, do you want to jump on the stage?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mehrdad. I hope everyone here had a nice weekend and did some cool stuff. And the only thing that I have to talk today is the Live Parades and Hackathon, which we launched. And it includes, as I said the previous week, three different tracks. One is a pure Live Parades and Hackathon track where you try to build something cool that is also meant to last longer than just being a showcase demo. The second track is how to combine live peer agents with the very interesting technology from Origin Trail, which is basically the decentralized knowledge graph, where you can create these very interesting and technologically peculiar knowledge assets. So it can be used for agentic provenance and very different and creative derivatives. Um, so we're very excited for that, and we have a third also track, the innovation track, which um, can be used for people that they have divergent ideas that can be really beneficial for Livepeer and other protocols. So we're continuing with that. We already did outreach to builders, and we expect to continue doing and to also publish some videos so that they have easier onboarding. And we expect it to last 3 weeks. Yesterday, Monday was the official start. If it is needed, we will extend it by 1 week. Um, these are the news for the hackathon. And for the Punch Compute project, we're very close to releasing it to all the orchestrators on the network and to also adapt it to be more competitive. So we will keep you updated on that. Thank you very much for being here and giving us the chance to speak of what we're doing.
Thank you very much, Define. Any questions on the hackathon from anyone?
Oh, and just for the people who are interested in joining the hackathon, you can find the URL on the general thread here. So you have all the information you need to enroll. And if you need to reach us out, you can do it from LinkedIn, from here, and from email as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Define. If there are any questions, please drop them in the chat, but I think we can move on to the next person, which is, I think, Ben, and the treasury reward cut. Hi, Ben. Good morning. Can you hear us? Or can you hear me? We can't hear you. I can't hear you. Second try.
Hey, can you
Hey.
hear me?
Yeah, now we can. Now I can.
Okay, great, great. I'm gonna try and share. No. I'm not sure what's happening. Seems to be a bit of a problem with the browser, so I don't think I'm going to be able to share the slides. Maybe Rich can do that if he's got them at hand. But yeah, but before the water cooler today, we had a roadmap session on the Treasury reward cut. Yeah, I saw Jason's comment in the chat. It was similar to the other roadmap sessions where it's sort of handled. Yeah, as a its own scheduled session, happens in the Google Meet. Apologies if anyone feels like they missed out on that. I'll give a summary here, and very happy to like keep the conversation going as well. Basically, there is a forum post which was put up maybe 6 to 8 weeks ago, and just reinvigorated in the last couple of weeks to talk about the fact that I think we need to, yeah, really start up the discussion to turn back on the Treasury rate cut. Um, so we discussed a few things around that. We basically started by discussing the numbers. There's currently 589,000 LPT in the Treasury, about 161,000 to get back to the cap, which is about 6 to 7 weeks at the previous 10% Treasury reward cut. And the questions, yeah, basically started with, hey, what would maybe make you vote no on restarting that? I think the thing that came up was that everyone is very supportive of restarting the Treasury rewards. Probably the questions focused more on whether the 10% was really enough. I think everyone wants to be very thoughtful around taking this step. They want to balance the needs of us to go to market and support demand bets with the needs of delegators and people, yeah, being rewarded through yield on the network. But really, I think there was very strong support for turning it on again at 10%, and people actually raised or were considering whether that goes far enough. The reason for that, I think, is because we are now in this LifePeer 2.0 paradigm. There's a lot of things coming up that people can see. The agent MCP, the protocol changes, um, the liquidity needs that might exist around burn mint equilibrium, or just supporting different agentic use cases and how they interface with LPT or liquidity to support people coming onto the network. I think everyone sees that we are in a potential world where yeah, there will be significant funding requests over the periods ahead. And I think it was Mike that shared that, yeah, really what we should be trying to do is make sure that as we fill up that treasury, we're also drawing it down. A bit of a critique on the fact that we haven't funded a lot over the last 6 months, and probably some of the previous concerns around funding projects that maybe didn't go anywhere or weren't seeing follow through have changed because now the examples are things like we've done with the Explorer, um, activities like the payment clearinghouse, these sorts of things that are basically becoming part of the broader LivePeer stack at this point. So um, anyway, where that got to, I think, is that yeah, it seems like there is support for um, putting forward a proposal to yeah, turn back on the treasury rewards. And the question is just around whether perhaps 10% is a good starting point to get us going again, or whether it's worth having the conversation now around whether we want to go further, given that, yeah, there's just a lot going on in the ecosystem, and people want to see us supporting go to market efforts. I might pause there. There is a bunch of people that are on that call that yeah, are on this call too, so let anyone else jump in, but otherwise I'll just pause and we can answer some questions. Uh, maybe no questions. So I'm not sure if that means people are supportive. But Rich, Mike, Dane, yeah, anyone else that was on the call, feel free to jump in if there's something I missed and keep me honest.
I think Jason is typing, so let's just give it a second.
Yeah, great.
Okay, so question on who is currently managing Grant Orchestrator and how are these funds related to the treasury, if at all?
Uh, yeah, I think the foundation is basically responsible for the grants node currently. We're supporting a number of activities around LivePeer 2.0, but I don't think they're necessarily related to the Treasury request at large. Yeah, uh, I'm not sure if that answers your question, Jason, but what we're really talking about here is the shared ecosystem Treasury and the way that it is supporting all of the public goods on the network. That was the original intent of the Treasury itself, separate to the grants node, which is currently being supported by the um, foundation and supporting the things that we're receiving from the foundation and the activity they're working on.
Okay, thank you very much, Ben. I see Jason is still is typing, but I think the
Yeah,
session can
I,
continue
I
very
can
easily.
I can
Yeah,
respond in the chat if you
yeah,
need to keep it moving. Yeah.
exactly. So, Rich, I think you're next in line. Do you want to take it away?
I probably need about another 5-10 minutes. If next person wants to go next, then I'll hop in after.
Sure, no worries. Shane, with workflow kit. Do you want to hop on the stage? Hey, how are you? Can you hear us?
Yo, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, take it away.
All right, fantastic. Yeah. So I've been working with the basically the foundation asked me to take some of the work that I've been doing with RoboFlow and kind of mature it a little bit and put it or give it support for the SDK. And so let me go ahead and drop the repo in the chat now. I've been working on this for about a week and a half after the final SDK was released last week, and so I'm excited to share it, and people can download it and use it. Let me here. Okay, yeah. Let me share it here. Okay, boom. There you go. Um, yeah, some basically what I did is I took what I originally built and really kind of looked more at like what a V1 would look like versus kind of like a prototype. And so the kind of the main characteristics of it are I was able to fully integrate the SDK, where now you can choose if you want to use an endpoint or if you want to use use the SDK itself, which works directly with the clearinghouses. I've actually been using John's whole setup in clearinghouse, and that's been really, really easy to use. So props to him. Uh, it's been working pretty much flawlessly. I haven't ran into any payment issues when using it with the SDK. So props there, and to Rick for also, and Josh actually for also with the SDK work. So major props there to the team. But yeah, so what you can do is you can choose if you want to use the SDK, if you want to use an endpoint, or here, let me pull up my list real quick just so I'm making sure I'm mentioning everything. Yada yada. There we go. Okay, and then it's also fully using the full stack of RoboFlow. So this means you can do static jobs or you can do streaming jobs. That's how RoboFlow is designed, where you kind of have these different paths on how you use it. And so it now fully works with both of them, and which includes 200 some blocks that which are basically like capabilities that RoboFlow has built into it on top of another. I don't know the exact number of capabilities that I have. I think it's around 20 or something capabilities from LivePeer that are also in that library. So you have a mix of, the native RoboFlow ones on top of all these that LivePeer is directly serving that agents can use with inside their workflows. It's all kind of wrapped into a skill that is really the only RoboFlow skill out there. Like, I looked on GitHub and I looked on some of the standard skill spaces, and even though RoboFlow has millions, over 1 million users, I don't know if, at least no one has really created a skill specifically for RoboFlow. So I created the skill for RoboFlow, and then on top of that, it has all of the native live peer capabilities and how you leverage live peer within RoboFlow. So you don't have to run the infrastructure yourself. You can just output any of the heavier tasks through capabilities that live peer is already running. And so that's all in this skill that the agent's able to just take and start authoring workflows. And then on top of that, it's actually very expandable as well. Regardless of if maybe an agent has some kind of different type of media that it needs to ingest, that the kit doesn't already have baked into it. They can easily create adapters to account for different codexes and things of that nature, different protocols. And then also, let's see, and live peer capabilities. If new capabilities are coming online on live peer, they can also be easily created by the agents themselves directly through the skill. So far, I've tested quite a bit with some of these different kind of capabilities, and so far it's been showing. I've been seeing really good progress. If anyone finds that the skill is a little rough around the edges or anything like that, just let me know, and I'd be happy to update things. But at least from my own experience, they've been able to pretty much do whatever I asked them to do through this skill. So it's been, yeah. So anyways, I'm excited about it. Just wanted to put it out there now. I'm probably next week I could do an actual demo of it, but that's the highlight of what I built. And maybe if folks wanted to play around with it and give me feedback, I'm more than happy to make any changes and then give more of a demo next week on how this could really be used within agentic agentic workflows that agents themselves are authoring.
Thank you very much, Shane. Any questions from anyone? Mm, just one dancing robot from Ben. Amazing. Yeah, super excited to see your work, Shane. It's it's going to the awesome direction. Okay, Rich, are you ready again or not?
One more note I wanted to actually add on to this. I also did do some playing with giving an agent access to both the workflow kit and to storyboard, and the agent's actually really capable of kind of like creating a workflow with like uh, uh, doing certain tasks, like taking a bunch of videos and pulling transcripts from them, and maybe pulling slides from them from a couple different tutorials, and then turn it into some kind of video or some kind of creative product using storyboard. So I didn't do a whole lot of that, but I did run one test where I was using both in tandem, and it's pretty cool. Once the agent actually has access to both of them, they're able to kind of use the RoboFlow side as is more of like an execution engine for doing work that isn't like generative uh, creation, and then immediately using storyboard for the generative creation stuff. So really cool. They can actually work really well together. So I think there's some cool places of kind of enabling both of these runtimes to uh, kind of highlight the areas that they're best at and allow agents to get the best of both worlds.
That's really interesting. And Ben actually said what I wanted to say. Can we see it, like, do you have an example, anything that we can share, even if it's like raw?
Sorry, I mean, no, I don't have an example. I don't have an example on this machine. I'd have to get it from a different machine, but, or actually, I don't know if I saved it. Anyways, regardless, next week, what I'll do for the demo is I can show using it all together in flows where, yeah, it's doing RoboFlow things that are good for RoboFlow, but then using storyboard for the areas that are best for storyboard. So yeah, I'll actually make sure to make that a point in the demo so you can see it all together.
That would be amazing. Thank you. And John asked to provide a little more context. Does RoboFlow function as a composable modular gateway application?
Uh, I'm not entirely sure how I would interpret what you see as a composable gateway application, but I think yes. I think with what you're getting at is yes. It is for composite. It's basically a runtime that allows you to connect all these different actions together and create these flows that can then be executed either at a time or create a streaming execution that has a number of different components all working together at the same time. So it's this complex, layer where you can author, and the runtime just takes care of the state. It takes care of connecting everything, and all of that, all from a relatively easy authoring kind of this authoring level that is primarily JSON that you put together. So, anywho, yeah, I think it is very much what you're hinting at, because you could use it for sure as a gateway to access LivePeer as a whole, and just use all of these skills that are just able to just be executed right on the spot through this runtime. And the agent doesn't have to try to set up the SDK. It doesn't have to try to create little connectors between things to have a flow that's using multiple LivePeer capabilities, because that's really the challenge. Like using LivePeer for just one thing, yeah, they could just they set up the SDK and do all these things, and then they could just ping that one capability. But the minute you need to author capabilities together and put them into a composition where they're all working together at the right time, and with different logic between it, that's where RoboFlow comes in, because now they don't have to create their own application to do all these connectors between capabilities. This runtime automatically creates the ability to connect these abilities together. So that's why I thought RoboFlow was a huge value for authoring authoring workflows that are using multiple LivePeer capabilities all for one job, without the agent needing to build everything from scratch.
Amazing. Just a question from my side. Is it like a deterministic orchestrator? Like you have agents that orchestrate like other agents and like these tools, and this is sort of like a deterministic way of doing it, right? Just for me to understand it.
Yeah, actually, that is actually something I specifically kind of built into it, because again, people haven't really been using LivePeer as an execution, like for an orchestrator to execute tasks. it just hasn't fully been utilized like that. And so we are kind of using it in a slightly different manner because it already has this runtime. If you put an agent above it, which is what the skill does, so that then it can fully leverage RoboFlow as its execution, then what I did is I actually put blocks inside of RoboFlow that then allow it to call either other agents, which is where LivePeer comes in because it could, query another LLM within a flow, or inside of a flow, it can actually query back to the LLM that launched it. So if I tell an orchestrator, hey, I want you to do X, Y, Z, and when all this data comes in, I want you to decide what the transcript should be, and then I want you to send it off to here. I actually built a block that makes that possible. So the agent can fully leverage RoboFlow to do all of these things. And then once an agent is needing that it needs to actually do, the output goes to it. It's able to take it and give the response, and then the flow continues. So yeah, it actually, that's exactly where my mind went, which is why I built that ability um, into the kit itself.
That's actually really interesting, and it's awesome to see because I was kind of having this issue that I needed a sort of deterministic way of composing this with Livepeer agent, so I can create like better, cooler videos. So it's super interesting that I see this come together. And also, John asked, I see, so we could deploy it as a hosted pipeline. That's also right. Yes.
Wait, sorry, I'm missing. Was this a written comment?
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry, I
it's
missed it.
just a written comment from John. So, for example, with the adapters you were describing for different media types and protocols, uh, so we could deploy it as a hosted pipeline. Sounds like its strength is also as a local pipeline for chaining together Livepeer network capabilities.
Yeah, I did look into basically both, like, because you could actually have like certain well, the main kind of the initial use case would be like if you are running things locally, right? So you've already have your agents running locally, you have, Claude Code, whatever codecs running locally, and then you just give it access to this repo and just say, hey, use this skill and, build this stuff and execute on it. But then you have the other side of it where, which is very much kind of where Storyboard and Lightpeer Agent has been focused on, which is like, hey, we'll give you an MCP server, and then you can just add that to your, even your web application, right? Your Claude.ai, and just add it as an MCP. And so I actually did do some research, and basically how this could work is if people want kind of these deterministic RoboFlow kind of authoring that where it's doing more than just calling a kind of like a live well actually with with agent 2.0 or Lightpeer agent, it's running in a serverless environment, I believe, because the MCP is basically acting as like a serverless environment. So this would essentially be the same thing where it runs an instance of it for that agent to use, even if they don't run it locally. So it can absolutely be basically remotely hosted, and it's just running as a bring your own container, and then it's able to just interface directly with live, all these live peer capabilities. Um, or it could be, which is my initial thinking, was just have it, running wherever Claude Code is running. But yeah, you could actually go both ways, and the MCP route, you could actually potentially just merge all of these, live peer agent capabilities all just into one thing. Where if they want these kind of longer RoboFlow centric tasks, they can, the MCP knows how to give them access to RoboFlow, or it knows how to give them directly access to kind of more the storyboard creative workflow. So yeah, both can be done.
Amazing. And there's also a comment from Define. I'm gonna try to answer it myself, and you correct me if I'm wrong, just to make sure I understood your work correctly as well. which is the question is why two MCPs for live peer workflows instead of one? And I don't think yours is kind of an MCP. So there's a live peer MCP, and you're just the raw flow enables people to deterministically compose these MCP tools together to do even high leverage work. Is that correct? I just want
Yeah. Now, it can be turned into an MCP because it's really a CLI. So agents interface entirely with this through CLI. Um, and so the CLI could be translated into an MCP, and I don't think it needs to be two MCPs. That's why next week when I do a demo, I'll show kind of both the storyboard side and the RoboFlow side all working together. And I think it could really be one MCP. It's just depending on what kind of runtime does your task require. If it requires the storyboard side, then it would be under the storyboard runtime. If it needs RoboFlow because it's more productivity based, then it would use the RoboFlow runtime. So I don't think they need to be separate products. Um, so yeah, we don't need to have necessarily two MCPs. I made it initially when I talked to the foundation is, hey, the main goal is to integrate the SDK, um, and full RoboFlow capabilities. So that's what I went into this next version being, which is what we've achieved. Then the next version could be then, okay, what does this look like as a MCP server integrated, hopefully all integrated into one MCP server with Storyboard because they all work together really well. Um, and then how do you make that runtime accessible remotely to agents that aren't running, they don't want to run RoboFlow or Storyboard on their own machine, but they would rather, just access a remote MCP. So that would be kind of the next phase, like of addressing those challenges.
awesome. Okay, I see. Okay. Okay, so just to rephrase more clearly, what we created might. Okay, it's not a question. Yeah, and also see.
Yeah, people can ask me questions. I'll stay in the chat here. But yeah, I don't want to take up too much time.
Yep, I think we can go to Rich. So, Rich, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Take it away.
Awesome. I'll share my screen and let's hop straight in, and I'll try and be nice and quick. So building off the discussion about the Treasury reward cut and the awesome work that Shane's been doing, which largely came out of the network engineering SP. I'm super excited to present the new pre-proposal for the network engineering SP2, which how did we get here? So as most people know on this call, we had a round one of funding, which was a pilot funding round that we, with the aim of funding small network engineering initiatives. This was passed back in April and May, and we completed the first go at it. I think we got a lot right. Say we, this was myself, Rick, my dad, Brad, Jason. Um, we funded small engineering initiatives fast. We established mechanisms that worked. We got core pieces of work funded across these mechanisms, and we made sure that there was a broad range of contributors that were funded too. Some things that we got wrong, well, there were no clear outcomes and directions that were set at the start. There was a reviewer bottleneck which really focused on one person, which was primarily Rick, and a lot fell at his feet. And accountability was a bit too loose. So we had milestones, but they were very, very scattered amongst work which didn't have a clear outcome and direction. So where do we head with this SPE? So we've decided to change it from one big pool, which can be allocated through specific mechanisms, to 4 tracks that the network engineering SPE will focus on. And each track gets one owner, it gets one outcome, and it has focuses on one persona, one stakeholder. Stakeholder is a better word than persona. Stakeholder within the ecosystem, and I'll come on to that in a minute. Within the network, sorry, and having a budget to then reach that outcome. And community members primarily contribute per track rather than generically submitting across broad priorities. So these 4 tracks are really built around who uses the network, right? So we've defined it from an easy to build track, an easy to operate track, an easy to delegate track, and an easy to validate track. These have 4 distinct owners, and it's been awesome onboarding these 4 over the last couple of weeks. Working with Mike, Josh, Elliot, and Shane. All have been contributors to the network and bring different skills and leadership. And the easy to build track will focus on, well, I'll dive into it a little bit now on each one. So the easy to build track led by Mike will really focus on ensuring that the developer experience actually building on the network is frictionless, is easy to use, and can be done in different ways, whether that's through a wallet or working with John on the payment house and the clearinghouse repo. And what needs to be true is really focused on having a first call that works with that wallet and setup to really ensure that there are standard interfaces to discover, price, pay for different capabilities of the network. That job costs are visible, and that docs and SDK really match what's actually deployed. So each track will be allocated a budget, and this is ranging in 70K, with 20K going to the track owner, and then 50K allocated to contributors who will then focus on shipping the work for that given track. The second track is easy to operate. We've gone with the word operate, mostly because of the new direction of Lightpeer 2.0, but this will focus on node operators, orchestrators within the network. And the outcome that we want to achieve by the end of the year is having one substrate connecting demand to supply and ensuring that new capabilities can be integrated with new capabilities can be added without a new integration stack each time and can be discoverable and priced. And this focuses on the live runner, on discovery pathway for capabilities, really focusing on logs and diagnostics from a failure perspective, and ensuring there's a credible path from today's architecture towards Lightpeer 2.0. And any changes that will bring. And this will be owned by Josh, who obviously is working with Lightpeer Inc. and will just route the funding to contributors working towards achieving that outcome. The third one is easy to delegate. The outcome that we want to achieve is to have self-custody delegation made clear, competitive, and economically informed. Delegators really understand their rewards when moving state and when moving in stake improves them. Now, a lot of this track, and Elliot, who's been awesome from Raid Guild, and really owning a lot of that delegator UX and Explorer track or work that was done with the previous SPE. He will be really reacting also to the changes, the new direction that will come with Lightpeer 2.0. But for now, really focusing on the reward history is understandable, that terms are made plain when thinking about fees, risks, and unbonding switching orchestrators, that every lockup is shown before commitment, and that final conversion is really measurable against a baseline. As I said, these may morph, and there is a degree of flexibility baked into the delegate track to really adapt to what comes out of Lightpeer 2.0. And then finally, the easy to validate track. Now, super excited to bring Shane on board, who has loads of experience from, well, as you've seen with the RoboFlow RoboFlow demo, uh, but also Shane's got a huge amount of experience from Pocket and working on the protocol side, and I think is a fantastic person to bring in to focus on self dealing and making sure that tokenomics, Lightpair tokenomics, can't be gamed. And this is the real focus for this track, to ensure that the network is protected by economic levers, network data, and social consensus. This will be a lot of research into publishing cost of attacks to ensure that anyone can analyze what is on the network and really see any self-dealing that might be visible, and inflating fees on the network. The community also makes sure that there's evidence that can act upon it. And with this validator set that will be coming in with LiPid 2.0, we also know that the actual shape of what that validator set will look like is likely to iterate and evolve over the coming months, coming month in particular, as the LiPid 2.0 light paper comes out. And this track will really aim to grow with that. So we have these 4 tracks, and rather than focus on specific mechanisms that we want to use, we actually are going to be quite open. And over the next couple of weeks, the track owners will be thinking about how to package work into specific milestones, and then thinking of what mechanisms to use per task, and bundling them up. And the foundation operations team will then, particularly Medan and myself, will be working a lot with the track owners to ensure that each track is resourced effectively, and that funding really goes back to the community from a contributor perspective. So we still want to make sure that we're onboarding new contributors and working with established contributors within the community. So what it adds up to is about 230K for 4 months. As I said, that allocation across each track is roughly what's on the screen. And then we also want to make sure that there's a cross-track pool, which, if there is something that falls outside of that allocation, and we don't think that there's going to be a huge amount, that there is still a pool to make sure that there's grants and bounties for anything that falls outside, and the committee will make decisions on that. We've also got the buffer that we want to put in, which can be added to that pool if we see that there's a lot of critical work that needs to be funded, or that will be carried over into the next funding round. And we'll make sure that guardrails are in place. So we're publishing all decisions monthly. There'll be monthly updates, which my dad will take care of. We'll also ensure that we try and disclose conflicts of interest, and any also conflict of disagreement within the committee. We do want to try and have a maximum of 50% self allocation, so that track owners don't simply just allocate the work to themselves or their own organizations. And we will ensure that there is a clear definition of done per task, so that we can make sure that community contributors get paid for work that they contribute to each track. So a lot there. I'll post the pre-proposal that went live about 5 minutes before the call. And please do give some feedback. So what are we looking at? We want to make sure that we have the right focus. We want to make sure that we have the right budget. We want to make sure that we are governing the SPE in the right way. So please do go and give feedback on that note. And I think that's pretty much it.
Thank you very much, Rick. Anyone, any questions? see Jason is typing.
I've been having Wi-Fi problems all day, and I had this heart and mouth moment where I was like, it just cut off for the last 10 minutes.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah, I think there is something we can take it off async in the chat with Jason. So I think the final person in the queue is Steph with live PRMCP. Steph, do you want to hop on the stage?
Yeah, totally. Hi, guys.
Hey, take it away.
All right. I'm gonna be, yeah, I'll be brief today. Let me just get my sharing going. There we go. Okay, so just to give a little context what you're looking at, I think what we've one observation I have sort of about this process is I think we've done a good job of coming to each of the water coolers, even some of our team moments internally, where we have deck presentations or other examples of where we are in the process. But those presentations sort of live in the moment and then die, and we don't really quite have that sort of like static source of truth on where we are on the product validation and go-to-market roadmap. So what you're looking at here is my attempt to do that. This is currently just pushing to my own repo that will just have a persistent URL for the live here, private URL for the live here narrative strategy, where folks can come and understand where we are in the process and where we're headed. So I'm just going to present from this page today because this will be my like ongoing place for updates. So just to the update I wanted to share today. So we had 3 user installs last week, and we had early user insights, and I'll go through what those insights were, and then I'll walk you through what we're holding, and then sort of what's changing or shifting in response to those insights. So the first thing we wanted to get out of the onboarding is, is onboarding delightful? Can we get through install? And we had a little bit of a rocky start, which was still extremely useful because what it showed to us was there are sort of these new table stakes for what's expected with product testing. And so what does that look like? What does that mean in practice? Our user is, I think historically there would be more differentiation between a technical or a so-called non-technical user, but now with agents that is sort of flattened. So we're just calling our users users. And what did emerge though is even within this user base that maybe in a previous era would have been identified as a non-technical user, they're actually extremely interested in how the product works, and they want to be able to see and trust what's happening with their agent. So the things that the users attempted to do, but maybe weren't able to do during this initial set of installs, was they wanted to get set up fast. They wanted to move through setup quickly, and they wanted to do it all within the agent that they were working in. So one user didn't even like having to leave Codex to go get himself set up because Codex now has the in Codex browser. So that was one observation. The Another observation was users are, and I noticed this about myself too, but users are establishing a set of base like workflows that they are using to create personal benchmarks across applications and models. So if there's a new model release or if there's a new application, users are taking a repeatable workflow to like get a baseline for how the model benches against their previous experiences. So that was a really interesting learning. And so something that we're actually doing internally now too is just running our prompts side by side with LivePeer, with Fall or with Higgsfield or other MCP routers or model aggregators to see where we fall on the benchmark. Because ultimately we want to get to a place of being the same as the rest of the market, and then we get to go and be better but first we have to get to the same, and we're not quite there yet, but we have a clear path to getting there. So what were users hoping to get? They wanted to get set up fast. They wanted to stay in the workflow. They wanted to be able to bring a previous workflow and test it out. They wanted to see and trust the work and understand what the agents were doing, and then obviously they wanted to get the file out. So these are all places where users got friction on our product experience. So just to say clearly, the feedback was setup's too hard, the routing felt unpredictable, the outputs were inconsistent, which I know this is kind of a heavy thing to say in the age of AI, but I think there is some learning here, just about even if it's about what users expect and how we set up those expectations within the product experience or within the marketing, and then delivery was unclear. So, but what remained true is that users still want the capabilities and the things that we have to offer. So the things or the way that these user insights then translate into product improvements, so which is what Peace, Chung, Doug and I and John's in the mix as well now are working on is first we want to simplify the surface. We want to reduce confusing routing. We want to improve onboarding, and then we want to create a clearer feedback loop. So each of those pieces, they sort of sit across the surface of myself, Peace, and Chung, and a little bit of John too. But we've got basically all hands on deck on getting us to the that's not it. Here we go. To the really simple onboarding that we want to have for future users. So this is the flow that we're sort of all hands on deck to get set up by the end of the week. And what that looks like is let's say I have a new user, Mason. I send him, and I want him to participate in our early onboarding. I send him to our waitlist site. He puts his email in. He gets a verification email, and then that jumps him back to our site, and it says, "Great, success. Here's a referral link in case you want to onboard anybody else." And then once we control the install packages on the back end, right? So once we determine, okay, this person's ready for an install pack, right now it's going to be manual as we're moving through the creator program, but we basically send them the install pack. Here's what it looks like. It's an email. They copy click, and then they bring it over into their agent environment. So right here, this is Codex. So I drop the MCP link in there, and then it says, okay, great. Before we can get started, I need you to authenticate. So they authenticate here, success. And just to say this, the flow for where authentication lives and how we get from the one-click install through to the authentication and the confirm or the success state. That's all the work that we're doing this week. And so then once they're successfully off, they get jumped back to their agent, and then they can get off and running, retrieve the result, and then return and repeat. So there's screens missing here, but we actually have some kind of nice like quality of life stuff for the MCP UI that will help some screens for hopefully next week. Okay, so just to sum up, the first set of user insights we got from last week were extremely helpful in setting up the table stakes for what we would want for our next set of installs. This is part of it here. And then so then what's changing as a result of these insights? So originally we were going to frame the creator program as an onboarding funnel. Given the expectations of the ICP and the gap we have on just getting to meeting those initial expectations for a really smooth install, we don't want that to stop us from getting critical user insights. So the things that we have at our disposal, we have a wait list of 40 people that were really excited to talk to me and to talk to other people thinking about agentic creativity from the demo. Camille, who is leading our creator program and product marketing research, she similarly has a funnel of like 15 to 30 people that we were going to have participate in this early onboarding. So we're going to continue to leverage that group of um, like excited and interested leads. And the way we're going to do that now is just to get them on the phone, and we're just going to talk to them about their agentic creativity practices. We're going to get to know their workflows. We want to understand their tool stack, what they don't like about the tool stack, where it falls short, what they love about the tool stack. And what this will do is we can just pull those insights right over into our product development. And then we're also building trust with this early user base. And we're building trust through getting to know their workflows and demonstrating that we are, invested in their success, and then we'll bring those over into the product. But they're also building trust with me and Camille, and the team piece as well is going to join the user research. But they're building trust with us to then, when we come back to them with, okay, try this now, install this. Now that like I kind of know what you're trying to work with and I kind of understand your problem, like try this. And so we're hopefully that'll give us a stronger foundation to work from. These initial or these interviews we're going to do for the creator program will be documented. So I'm aiming for recorded, and of course transcribed for every single one. Just want to make sure I can get that. I don't want to. Well, obviously, I don't want to commit to that for every single one if we find someone who's like deeply uncomfortable with that. But my sense is folks will be that this group will be open. But documentation is important. So that's actually what I'm setting up today, so that we can pull those insights across and make them visible and felt to the rest of the team. And I'm hope that that's what the purpose of this site is that we can surface those here. So yeah, that's the update I have. Maybe the last thing I'll say is our path to go to market, which I think is the question everyone has, and especially as it relates to our external surfaces. Previously, we were holding the path to go to market against calendar dates, which we still will. Everything is pushing toward and end of Q3. Gosh, wow, we're really at the end of Q3, an end of Q3 deadline. But we also we're gonna push toward that purposefully, and quality remains our bar. So the path to go to market is both a sort of a calendar sprint, but it really is a sprint on gates. So we have a set of gates that we want to hit before waitlist opens, the next set of gates before first installs, and then the final set of gates before open beta begins. We are on the path to unlock these gates, and yeah, and we're in the grind of product development where the product is hitting the market, we're getting user feedback, and we're needing to bring improvements across. So I will, once this is done deploying, I will surface this so folks can bookmark it and hopefully have a continual referenceable asset to understand where we are in the agent process. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, you can ask. I'm also, I think most folks know where to find me.
Thank you very much, Steph. Great seeing all of this product user insight.
We're about to get a lot more.
Yeah, and I think that
Yeah, I had a kind of like a comment or question, but with how you are wanting to get feedback from customers, I really like how you kind of have this package where they go through this little wizard and then they get this package and then you just pop it into their agent, and their agent obviously does all the legwork. I think I was just as you were talking with like getting feedback, it actually might be worth getting feedback from the agents themselves, where if there was like a prompt to like, hey, go back and look at my storyboard threads, and identify when the user needed to interface to get something right, or where did something take multiple tries, or things like that. It actually could be really handy, since you guys are already kind of building this kind of experience into it already, to maybe have that. And I don't know if that's something that you guys have already been kind of thinking about, but so getting support or getting feedback from a user could be as simple as, hey, paste this into your agent and let us know what it returns. Um, just a thought for you.
Yeah, so we have two ways that we're thinking about that we're doing tracking and getting that information back. So the first way that we're grabbing insights is like through the empirical sense. So we've got the recordings, the transcripts, and obviously like our the observed user behavior, what they tell us. And then we also are working on server-side logs. So that's actually one of the like bigger like product engineering things that Chung and Peace and I think John also as well is working on. So because you're exactly right. The data set that we need to look at is the empirical data, the user behavior, so we can understand their intent, and then we also need to understand the what happens on the software side and what happens agent to agent. So we had explored. And there's two ways to get that info, right? We can get it from we can have server side logs, and then we can also do another version, like you suggested, a more sort of proactive data collection where you give the person or the agent a skill file. I think that's a good like thing to have, and it's easy to implement. But what that it creates it just creates an extra step, and then it could be missed, and but yeah, we're focusing more on like what are the ways we can automate this and get it to a stable data source that it does feel meaningfully like of truth. So, but yeah, 100%. We need the data, and that ultimately is what's going to drive our product development.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. If you are already basically running the MCP server, you're essentially able to pull a lot of that, user data directly from that. So, yep, makes a lot of sense. Sounds good.
Yeah, we also have another something that Peace and I were looking at, and I know that Chung was actually implementing a bit over the weekend. But Codex has MCP UIs, so they have like a little kind of UI kit, and there's ways that we can create that feedback loop through an MCP UI. So for like one example is um, at the end of every run, the UI, this little like live here UI could pop up right within your agent. And it basically says like, were you happy with this? And you can, create little buttons and you can track, okay, did they download? Did they, there's ways that we can use that MCP UI to also compound the data collection. So yeah, it is interesting to think about the ways that you collect data, interpret that data, or like value that data in this agentic age. It is interesting. There's lots of surfaces to track. Cool. Well, thanks guys. You know where to find me, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you very much, Steph. So I know we're over, but I think we can spend a couple of minutes to go through the final step of Watercooler, which is just give someone else in the community a pat in the back, maybe someone that you've worked with and you enjoyed their work. Uh, I'm just gonna start. Uh, I think it was obvious in this Watercooler, but I think what Shane is working on is really exciting because that deterministic orchestration is also a part that can unlock a lot of stuff on composing MCP and things like that. So that was super cool. Excited to see how the rest of that work turns out. Anyone else? I see people are typing.
Hi everyone. I want to give my shout out to Steph and the GTM team. I can see you're putting a lot of effort into the live pay agent and also live pay 2.0. And also my shout out to Shane. I noticed the MCP workflow kit. It's quite interesting. So my shout out to you as well. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, IBS. Yep. Anyone else? I see Shane is typing. Oh, also shout out to Ben waking up, I think 3 a.m., 4 a.m. I don't know how you do this, Ben, but great shout out. Yeah.
Yeah, and also shout out to Rich as well. I noticed I don't think he was able to stay till the end. Shout out towards the effort towards the network engineering SP too. Yeah, shout out to Rich for that.
Yep. Okay, I think then that's it for the shoutouts. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you have a great week and see you next week. Cheers. Bye.